So I was talking to my friend and we were having this conversation, and we got to the point where in our conversation we just started discussing things about how to actually come out of this poverty life, how to come out of this life where you are constantly at a disadvantage compared to the rest. This life where you are constantly always trying to fight twice as hard to get what you want compared to other people and other races. And we started asking ourselves the question: Are we truly living through this curse that we call the curse of Ham? And to be honest with you, I got to a point where I really thought maybe that must have been a real story or a real thing that had happened to black people, the curse of Ham. But as strongly as I believe and I know with my faith, I don't think that's actually true. I don't think, but for those of you guys who actually don't know who Ham is, so Ham is one of Noah's son. What had happened was after the flood, Noah went to drink and he became drunk and then he fell asleep. But when he fell asleep, he slept naked. So Noah's son, Ham and Shem, came through, and what happened was they saw the nudity of their father. But the one son who was wise enough decided not to laugh. He ran out of the room and he went to get something to cover the father up. But Ham was the son, though let's call him the disobedient son, who when he saw the nakedness of his father, he started laughing because he found humor in that. And apparently because of that, people assume that he got cursed. Well, the Bible actually said he got cursed. But today, in today's society, many believe that the curse of Ham is exactly what's happening to most people on the continent of Africa. And a lot of people are waking up from that, you know, mythological story, and they come into the realization that maybe it might not be the curse of Ham, maybe it's just the way we are. Um, I don't really think as black people we've suffered enough. I think every human race has had their fair share of suffering. Maybe perhaps we've just had the worst because it is still young, it's still young enough for us to remember. I think back in the days, if we think about Scandinavian countries, for example, where they had the Viking age and the barbarics and so forth, everybody had some kind of suffering throughout the entire history. So, but the reason why for us black people it's so much worse is because we have gone through this period where we have record of it and we can tell and we can look back in time and we can see exactly what had happened. But now, with saying all that, it came down to the point where me and my friend was just contemplating, because we asked ourselves, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for us as black people to actually just proceed and succeed in life with so much ease? You know, why is it so easy for other races to succeed in life? Why is it that they have the things that they want, that they can accomplish the dreams without any hassle and so forth? And being the deep thinker that I am, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start tapping into like watching and reading other books that are not just supportive of black ideologies. I want to see what exactly other races are thinking. I want to see what other people are thinking in different race groups and what exactly they're doing. So I've come to understand that even as a Christian, um, to be honest, building wealth isn't that difficult. You know, building wealth isn't that difficult at all. The problem is we've demonized the idea of wealth building, especially as Christians. And I'm speaking specifically to those who are Christians, those who believe like they are children of God and walking with God and etc. etc. The Bible believing Christians who go to church and so forth. I've been reading this book currently and I feel like I need to show you guys, and maybe you guys will understand what I'm talking about. I've been reading this book. It's called Every Business. Well, it's called Anointed for Business. I'm just gonna show you guys so you can see. It's quite an amazing book. I do recommend for anyone, especially any Christian who wants to build wealth, to get it. It's not that thick, you know. I'm literally there, my little bookmark. And this book has taught me so much, you know. Apart from me reading the Bible, of course, and understanding what the Bible says about wealth building, this one here brings it down to just, you know, laying down the playing field and understanding exactly why it is also important for Christians to be wealthy. And I truly believe that God can call you in any direction He wants. And if God called you and He gave you the desire to want to be wealthy, you shouldn't try and fight that or try and combat it. I mean, we can think of so many people in the Bible who had built their wealth and wisdom from God. We think of someone who was the wisest person that history has ever recorded, King Solomon. I mean, that was wisdom coming from God. So it's not really impossible for a Christian to want to attain wealth and give praise and glory and honor to God. But what has happened is we have demonized the idea of being wealthy, especially as Christians and especially as African people, because we tend to think that wealth is associated with evil. So therefore, wealthy people are evil. They must have done something to attain that kind of riches, right? And I was thinking to myself, this kind of ideology is exactly what has kept us in the dark for too long. It's exactly what has kept us to continue to live the way we are living and continue to lose and continue to always remain a failure in life. How do you expect to obtain the things that you've always demonized? Sometimes we even demonize love. We think loving too much and being open-hearted and being friendly with everyone is a bad thing because you will be taken advantage of. Then we start closing ourselves into this box where when nobody finally loves us, then we are now, everybody else is the world is a wicked place to live in. That kind of thinking. So anyways, my initial thought was to just talk about why I feel like as African people we make life difficult for ourselves. We can always blame racism, we can always blame colonialism, we can blame any other ism that took place, in this continent, anything else that had happened to us as a people. I might not have suffered it directly, depending on the time and period in which those things had happened, but I'm obviously a byproduct of whatever happened then. Even the languages that we speak today, whether I speak French, English, or whatsoever, those are colonial languages. They're not our languages. So I'm a byproduct of whatever had happened, and I'm affected by that. So even though I'm affected by it, does it mean that I should really continue to live a life of suffering? Or was it just that maybe we have come to this point where we are accepting our own suffering as black people, as African people, and therefore we don't want to progress, and when we see any slight sign of progress, even within our own community, we make sure we cut it down and we bring it down immediately. Because that's what really seems to be happening a lot. And we speak about always giving support to the right people, but within our continent, I've never really seen a man being loved by everyone without not having one person trying to criticize that person, right? And it's so hard because I truly believe one day we'll get to a point where everybody is going to be fed up with everyone else, and we're all going to be fed up of each other, and it's going to cause some kind of internal civil war. And I'm not saying this to kind of wish bad on anyone, but the point that I'm trying to make is it shouldn't be this hard. We've made things harder for ourselves, and we've chosen this path without even knowing it. And what happened is when we are being told that this is what we are deciding, or this is what we have decided upon, then we are pointing fingers at things that had happened in the past. And I really do feel it's not fair that we continue to remain in such a state of mind where we are always pointing at history for the causes and the effect of things that are happening right now. How many presidents have we changed as a continent? How many new leaders have come into power and gone out, and we are still the same? How many new politicians have we elected? It's still the same. It's still the same. How many more churches have we built and people are still living wicked lives? How many more synagogues and mosques and whatsoever have been built and people are still living the same way? The moral compass of people is still going in the wrong direction. So is it really that difficult? Because the history has done it for us and we don't know, we don't have any sense of directions for ourselves? Or is it just that difficult because we make it difficult for ourselves? I mean, let's take quite a simple example. I could use the idea of how expensive we've made even getting married is. Now it's not an issue that I'm bothered by anymore, because I was like, you know what, I don't need to get married if I don't want to. I could build my own wealth and seek my own direction, live my own life the way I want to. It doesn't have to necessarily have to be. It doesn't have to be pleasing. I don't have to please anyone, because it is my life at the end of the day. It is what I want at the end of the day, right? So, and I'm just here to speak my mind. Do I want to build my own wealth? Yes, of course. I want to. I want to live a life of abundance. As long as I'm here and God has given me this breath of life, I want to live a life of abundance. And my end goal is not to live a life of abundance where I've completely reached the point where I am giving up on everyone else. Because at the end of the day, anyone else can, try and speak against my desires or whatsoever I want. Only God can see what I want. And only God can point it out and say whether that's wrong or right, right? But coming back to that point of just marriage alone, it is so difficult. Like, it is so difficult for people to get together. The amount of times that I've listened to and I heard stories of how difficult it is for people to just couple up and live together. It's so impossible. I think to myself, wow, we are really the cause of effect of our own poverty. We are the only people that are leading ourselves down in the wrong path. Why is it so difficult to get a partner? Why is it so difficult for two people to come in agreement and accept one thing and be okay with that and then move on together with life? Why is it so difficult for two families to come together? Because two people love each other and they need to finally accept that it is about time that things should happen for them. Why is it so difficult that, again, I cannot move from one place to another, even in my own continent? I need to have documentation that really reflects the kind of person I am, and if I'm willing and if I'm able to bring some kind of wealth within the country. It's things like this that really does, it makes a person, I'm a bit vexed, because when it comes to like building wealth and taking people out of impoverished positions, I look around me and I realize we make this very difficult in such a way that we start hating not only the people that we think are doing this to us, but we start hating ourselves as well. So we begin to self-hate. That is why it's so complicated when you find someone who really has good ideas and wants to take his community out of that situation. He either gets killed, terminated, or he either travels away and leaves because of the amount of threats he's been getting and just how difficult it is for him to even accomplish his dreams and goals. So we've gotten to a point where, and to be honest with you, I want to say I see myself as one of the top percenters with a mindset who literally thinks outside of the box. So nobody can actually tell me to think outside of the box, because I've done that now. And I've realized we make life difficult for ourselves. And the solution will come when we start accepting just how difficult it is that we've made life for ourselves. The barriers that we've made, the regulations that nobody really cares about anymore. We make all that stuff up ourselves. We're trying to put as many rules and regulations for ourselves to the point where we are exhausted. We don't even follow them ourselves. We don't even abide to them anymore. That's what's happening for the most part. We make rules and regulations that we don't abide to ourselves anymore. Our own politicians, they break their own rules. Dishonest, disloyal people. Our churches, our church leaders breaking their own rules, going against what the Bible speaks about. Our education and our systems of teaching, we grade people differently to how they should be graded for their own way of thinking. We send our kids and school kids to school, but we tell them, you should be a bright kid, you're a bright kid, you should think outside the box, be creative, but then we grade them based on what we expect them to regurgitate out when we teach them. That's the school system that we currently live in, where our kids are being taught things that they're expected to regurgitate and spit out because they need to get the right marks, but they're literally just repeating back what you know. So literally, what I'm trying to say is, we are not pushing our own kids to think outside the box. we're expecting them to think like factory workers, to think alike, and to think exactly the same way. Anyways, I just came here because I wanted to rant a bit about life as black people and how it is so difficult to get things done, especially when you're an African person, and how difficult it is to actually see yourself where you want to go, because while it's not that easy to attain your goals, all odds against you, nobody wants you to win unless you are going to benefit them in some kind of way. And it's just that, it's really just that. Anyway, before I end, I actually wanted to read you guys an extract from the book that I'm reading, and I'm gonna share right here so you guys can see I'm not lying. This is actually one of my favorite chapters, my favorite part in the chapter. Okay, and it goes something like this. Two common misconceptions often prevent godly Christians from moving enthusiastically into the marketplace with the clear intent and necessary determination to succeed. The church widely, although perhaps unintentionally, teaches or at least implies that God despises rich people and that success is something Christians cannot handle well. These lies need to be debunked. Significant perils result from the improper handling of wealth. Jesus did not approve of the rich men who dressed in purple and fine linen and refused to share with Lazarus the beggar, even though the crumbs that fell from his luxury table. See Luke 16 verse 19 to 31. Paul admonishes wealthy Christians not to put their hope in riches, but to be generous and ready to share. James debunked greedy rich people who sat on their wealth until it rusted while their workers' wages went unpaid. But none of these cases represent a condemnation of rich people per se, only those who mishandled their wealth. How does God really feel about rich people? I think I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil the book too much for anyone else who has never read it. So, yeah, I would encourage anyone to read this book if you got time in your hand. And let's continue to share this kind of thoughts. What do you guys think? Am I lying when I'm saying we've made life difficult for ourselves as black people? I don't know. Let me know. And yeah, until next time, peace out.